You stare down with Luke Rockhold. What exactly did he say to you when you guys met face to face?
That I've got small feet.
I don't understand. Like,
this is Johnny and Jose with Tiger Bomb MMA, and tonight we'll be going over UFC 267, Blachowicz versus Texeira, going over the entire card, giving you our thoughts, predictions, possible parlays. We have 15 total fights in this card, taking place in Yas Island, Fight Island in Abu Dhabi. So there's going to be a lot of possibly controversial decisions in this card because, there's a lot of OEVs and EEVs in this card. So we'll see. We'll see how the scorecards go. We'll start off with a flyweight bout, Tagir Ulanbekov versus Alan Nascimento. And currently the odds on this fight have it in favor. Well, I don't even have to see it. I already know it's going to be Ulanbekov. He is minus 300. Come back on Nascimento plus 250. And off the bat, the recurring joke is because it's taking place in Abu Dhabi, there's no way a guy with the last name ending in Av is going to lose. In this particular case, it just happens to be true. Tagir Ulanbekov, he's going to win this fight because not necessarily because, the whole the scorecard's already written out. It's just that Alan Nascimento, he's not very good. I had to watch tape on him, as much tape as I could. Saving grace for him, where you look at his record, you're like, wow, he went to a split decision with Julian Paiva, but it wasn't that good. He didn't look great. He has a pretty good, spinning back kick, and he has a quote unquote Muay Thai black belt, and he trains out of Shooter Box, Diego Lima, but he's not all that well polished. I mean, he can potentially crack Tagir. Tagir, as we know, he trains with Khabib. He's got the good wrestling. He gets hit a lot, though. That's one thing I don't like about Ulanbekov is that he does get hit a lot. And personally, I thought he lost the fight with Bruno Silva. To be fair, after rewatching it, I'm leaning more towards it was fine. But for him to get a 30-27 in that fight was not accurate whatsoever. But yeah, Tagir should win this one. What I've noticed about Nascimento's record is that he's kind of a bum beater. He's not really that well polished. And it should be a clear win for Tagir Ulanbekov. Again, there's a chance he might be able to get cracked because he does get hit a lot. Bruno Silva really demonstrated that. He really attacked the lead leg. He even took him down. It's just that, I don't know, man. Ulanbekov's not going to lose this one. I don't think Nascimento has what it takes to actually beat this guy. If things go bad for Tagir on the feet, he always has the wrestling, which I think he's going to implement in this fight. And again, really unlikely if it goes to the scorecards. I don't think he's going to lose, even if it's a split decision. But I do have Tagir Ulanbekov to win this one by a pretty cut, dry decision.
Yeah, I feel the same. Taking a look at Nascimento's opponents' records. I mean, the last guy he fought, this Lima guy, and after a 3-year layoff, he beat him by rear naked. So it's like, oh, hey, he came back and he still got it. It's like, no, he beat a 5-2 guy. Before that, before William Paiva, he's fighting a 3-1 guy. I see 8-1, 5-3, 1-1, 2-0, 1-2, 3-1. So his record is, it's very deceptive. If you're not looking into
18-5. No, man.
Versus 12-1. This guy's, he fought, in the gulag against he's got the cauliflower ears and the sideburns. He's got the number one shaved head, and it goes down all the way to his, he's missing the mustache and he's got the whole beard going. So he's part of that crew. Really nothing to add, man. It's going to be either very exciting, or Tagir is going to be like, oh, hey, look, here's a Makhachev boxing, or he's just going to take him down and lay on him for 3 rounds, and you know what I mean. I don't think it'll be the most exciting, but I think it's probably a good starting point for a parlay here, I would say.
At lightweight, we've got Damir Ismagulov versus the sniper Magomed Mustafaev. And I wrote some notes down, and I wrote, OEV is better than EEV. So by default, Damir Ismagulov is going to win this fight. And
that's pretty.
Currently, the odds have it minus 275 for Ismagulov, comeback for Mustafaev plus 210. And those odds are pretty spot on. I did write a ton of notes on this. I tend to forget talking points when I'm like doing this live recording. I'm like, what was I going to say? But I have some notes here. So with Ismagulov, what I like about Ismagulov is that he's very technical. He's very, very good everywhere. His striking might be a bit lacking when it comes to like the flash, but he's very technically sound. He's got the fundamentals just down. He's got really good everything, really good chin. Wrestling is really solid. That's his primary weapon, of course, is the wrestling. If he has to strike, I think his striking is competent enough, but he does prefer the wrestling. He's a high-level grappler. He fought recently against, what was it, Rafael Alves, yes. And Alves, I will say this, he dropped him in the first round. So Alves dropped Ismagulov in the first round, and it was like, damn, he got cracked pretty easily. So that's one thing to kind of keep in mind, is that a very fast starter might be able to catch Ismagulov, but Ismagulov's chin is very solid. And again, he's very, very good with the defense. He's just very clean all around. I think one of the best things about Ismagulov is his defense. Like his submission defense is really solid. When Alves had him in a couple different chokes, he got out of them pretty easily. He didn't really panic or anything. The last choke he was in that fight, it wasn't deep at all, but the way he handles himself is very, very solid. As for Magomed Mustafaev, the dude is 14-4. I will say here, I'm not sure where he's training out of, because currently it says he's training out of Jackson Wink, but last I heard he was at ATT, and he's also had a long layoff similar to our boy Tadjir Ulanbekov and also Nascimento. It's an interesting bout because we don't know how he's improved since his last fight against Brad Riddell, where he didn't look all that great. I made the huge mistake of blindly betting Mustafaev in that fight, and it bit me in the ass against Riddell. And I kind of had to assess what the fuck I was doing. Just because someone ends in the name Ev or anything like that, or he sounds Russian, don't just blindly bet the fucking guy. But this guy, I'll say this: he's not a Khabib guy. He actually fought and knocked out Bubakar Nurmagomedov, which I saw that kind of be interesting. I'm like, hey, does this motherfucker train with Khabib? No, he actually fought Khabib's cousin. Funny thing about this, what I wrote down is that Kevin Lee submitted him, right? He submitted him 4 years ago. And I think this is funny, but I think Kevin Lee submitting Mustafaev gave him the confidence to start calling out Khabib. He's like, oh, I can choke out these wrestlers. Mustafaev, he is a wrestler. He's a Russian wrestler, but he's mostly a striker. But his wrestling's not all that great. I think Demir's wrestling is going to be the biggest factor in this fight. Mustafaev does get taken down pretty easily, so we'll see if that ATT training's really been helping him. He's got the possibility for early knockout, but again, with Ismagulov's chin, I think at those odds, I think it's a steal for Ismagulov. I think he's going to win this one by a decision. Pretty cut and dry for me. I think Magomed, that layoff is going to really take its toll on him if he hasn't really, really pushed himself to get better everywhere. I think he's kind of limited in his skill set. I think he can still get wins in the UFC, but when he starts fighting these top level, really well-rounded guys like Ismagulov, it's going to be really tough for him. Again, if Kevin Lee can take you down and submit you, Ismagulov's going to easily decision you. I know Magomed is the better striker, but I don't think it's going to matter not when you're on your ass. So I got Ismagulov to win this one by a decision.
Yeah, I was taking a look at it, and I was like, is that a typo? Did Magomed really beat Fiziev? And I was like, is that the same Fiziev that how many Fizievs are there?
Yeah, he got him with a spinning back kick.
Yeah, I was like, whoa. I don't know how I missed that, but I was like, damn, that's some pretty high level stuff, because Fiziev, he's in the Matrix now, man.
Yeah, Fiziev was really overconfident in that fight.
Yeah, I figured it might have been something like that. I didn't, but he did lose to Riddell in his last outing, which was early 2020. So that's 4 months. My math is bad, but that's a long time. That's more than 12 months, I would say. This is while his wrestling isn't anything to laugh at, although Kevin Lee would laugh at it, yeah, he's levels below Ismagulov, I would say. I think they'll start out on their feet, but then Ismagulov, I would say within the first minute or so, he'll probably resort to the grapple fuck fest, and then just take over from there. I think it'll be 30-27. I don't think he'll be able to TKO or submit him. So it'll be just 15 minutes of him being like, fuck, why did I not train defense? And he's a shorter guy, so it'll be kind of awkward for him being a shorter guy getting grapple fucked. But yeah, Ismagulov is the pick here. I'm taking him by decision.
Next bout, middleweight. We've got a bout between Yaozong Hu and Andre Petroski. And currently, I don't have odds on this bout. Very short notice. This was supposed to be Hu versus his previous opponent, Alan Amadovsky, but he pulled out. Now we've got Petroski in here. Now we have Petroski in here. And interesting little bout, because last we talked about Hu, he has not fought since he got his ass beat by Rashad Coulter about 3 years ago, and he is dropping down to middleweight. And that's an interesting thing. I've seen tape on him recently, and by tape I mean I saw a video of him from his like Instagram or whatever. I don't know where they got that footage from, but he looked pretty good. It looked like he was training with Jingliang, training his striking, and he does train out of Tiger Muay Thai. Interestingly enough, although he used to fight at 205 and he is the taller guy, he is at a 1 inch reach disadvantage against Petroski. Petroski's 6 foot tall, 73 inch reach. Come back on Hu, he is 6'3", 72 inch reach. I find this one to be one of the more difficult fights to gauge. I would assume Petroski is going to be the favorite. I don't think he should be any more than maybe logically maybe minus 160, minus 180 at the most, mainly because although I like Petroski in a way, I like what he brings to the table, and I think he could be a very, very good middleweight down the line. I don't think he's very, very skilled yet. He's a wrestler. He has decent BJJ. He has mostly chokes on his record. That's his main bread and butter, like the guillotines. Very much so like a not midget alpha male type of guy. That's what he reminds me of. And he recently fought Michael Gilmore, one of these guys from The Ultimate Fighter as well. He pounded him out. The thing I don't like about Andre is that he does tend to gas. Brian Battle did kind of beat his ass after he kind of gassed himself out trying to go for takedowns and trying to use his striking, which primarily consists of overhands. He doesn't really set things up. He will desperately go for the takedown if things don't go well for him. Also, it looks like he might be a commie because he has a hammer and sickle tattooed on him. But funny enough, for the actual commie, for Hu, he I don't know, man. He's an interesting character. We haven't seen him in 2 years. The thing about it is that his striking is nice. It's serviceable. He's going to have the striking advantage in this fight. He has a chance to possibly knock out Petroski. His fight with Coulter, man, that's leaving a really bad taste in my mouth. He lost to Rashad Coulter and Cyril Asker, 2 guys that are no longer in the UFC and probably never belonged in there. He is going to be the younger guy. I think he has the higher ceiling. And the thing about him is that he's very inexperienced. Even back when he came into the UFC, when he was for sure inexperienced, I don't know if he's cleaning up his striking, because he was able to get hit a lot. In certain situations, you saw him being the better striker, like, for example, against Rashad Coulter. But when he was getting bum rushed and just having bombs slung at him, he didn't really know what to do. His chin is pretty solid because he was able to eat those shots against Coulter, but it's just like, I need to see more from this guy. Logically, I think Petroski wins this one by a decision, but I'm not going to go that route. I'm going to go with Hu. I'm going to take a shot on him. Assuming he is the underdog, I think he can potentially knock out Petroski as long as he avoids getting taken down, makes him pay for the takedowns. I think he can potentially knock out a exhausted Petroski in maybe round number 3 or possibly even late of round number 2. We'll see how he looks. This is, for me, a throwaway bet. I'm not going to put a ton of money on it, but I'm going to give it a shot. I'm not including this in any parlays. It's too much of a question mark, but I'll give a shot to Hu. Uh, Again, it's just very mysterious. So I'll go with him to go round number 3 knockout.
Yeah, this is absolutely a coin flip fight on this card. Biggest question mark is is it Hugh or who? Like Hugh Grant? Is he the Hugh Grant of China? Is Totoro? Is he, or has he rather, worked on his takedown defense, or worked on getting up quickly when he does get if and when he does get taken down? And is Andre licking his chops if he has been working on his takedowns, offensive takedown, wrestling, looking at this guy like, oh, he's not going to be, because being being that damn tall and going down a weight, going down 20 pounds, that might be, depending on, whether he's taking the Paulo Costa method and weighing,
no. Don't bring that motherfucker up, dude.
Yeah, weighing 225 pounds the week of weigh-ins and be like, oh, yeah, I can't make 185 pounds. Yeah, it's gonna be. I would say wait until weigh-ins, to see what he looks like. If he looks, like he's about to die, then I'd say bet the house on Andre, because he's just gonna wear him out. But if he looks like, I don't know, like he's like cut and he's like full of energy at 185, and like, oh damn, Andre better watch out. So I'd say if you are planning on placing a bet on this, it's a very high risk, high reward, I guess, if you're going with who. But yeah, this is probably something you want to stay away from and enjoy it if you want, I guess. But yeah, I'm not sure, I don't know. I really don't know what to think of this. It's all speculative. I mean, it's all speculative for any fight, but more so here, I guess. Just because we're going to see what who's made of, when and where. No, I don't know. Never mind. I don't think anybody will get that joke, but yeah. So I don't know. I can't pick a side confidently, to be honest. I'd say this goes the distance. I'll reluctantly take Petroski before taking a look at the weigh-ins. If, like I said, if who looks good, if he looks like he's full of energy at 185, then Petroski might be in trouble. But then again, who might just be in good shape but not bothered, to round out his MMA game. So who knows? So big question mark here.
Next bout at featherweight, we've got Mr. Finland, Makwan Amirkhani versus Lerone the Miracle Murphy. And currently the odds have it in favor of Murphy, minus 350. Comeback on Amirkhani, plus 260. And this one's interesting. I have to say, this one might be a trap because the odds on Murphy, I think they're too high. This is for sure one of his bigger tests in the UFC. Hard to even say that, to be honest with you, because he did knock out Ricardo Ramos and he just recently beat Douglas Silva de Andrade. But ranking wise, and I guess overall skill set wise, Makwan Amirkhani would be a high level opponent for Lerone Murphy to actually move up in the rankings. Yeah, it seems like a trap to me, man. Not to say that Makwan's going to win, but there's a chance that Makwan might be able to get the submission. So breaking these two guys down, it's a grappler versus a striker, but it's a very well-rounded striker in Lerone Murphy. I like a lot of what this guy does. He's a 10-0-1, the one being a split decision draw with Zubaira Tukhugov, where he actually went to a draw in that motherfucker's backyard. Coming out of Manchester Top Team, this guy, again, primarily a striker. He's solid everywhere, very strong guy. What I like about him is that he is a switch striker. He's able to go orthodox or southpaw. He's quite good with the counter wrestling. He tries to mainly keep it on the feet, where he uses a lot of feints. And I think the feints are going to be a huge factor in this fight. And also the body shots. He has very nice body shots, Lerone Murphy does. And the reason I bring that up is because Makwan, he tends to kind of gas, not in every fight, but he does gas quite a bit. especially when you batter that body, because we saw that with Edson Barboza. He attacked the body, just destroyed the confidence of Makwan, because his primary thing is that he's trying to take you down and trying to get you in a anaconda or a Darce choke, a choke of some sort. That is his bread and butter. And that's what he does. That's what he's going to try to do. I hate to say it, is kind of a front runner. If things aren't going well for him, it's not going to go well for him the rest of the fight. His fight just recently, about 4 months ago, against Kamuela Kirk. Kamuela came from LFA, recently fought a few weeks prior to that fight, and he looked very loose, very prepared against Makwan, and Makwan almost had nothing for him. He is relentless with his takedowns. That's a really good thing about this fight, is that we get to really see Lerone Murphy's takedown defense tested and how he battles adversity if he does get taken down multiple times. And yeah, man, Makwan, his striking's a bit wild. Everything that he does on the feet is intended to set up a takedown. So he'll go for a flying knee, try to duck under, take you down. I don't think that's really going to work against Murphy. We'll see, though. I don't like the odds on Murphy at that price of the minus 350, minus 360. I think he's overpriced for me. And also the props are a bit difficult because Murphy by TKO, I don't know if I'm going to see that. I know Makwan's very tough. If Barboza couldn't do it, I don't know if Murphy's going to be able to do it. He's very strong. He hits very hard. Maybe Murphy by decision. My biggest concern is, although Murphy's very well-rounded, I have questions about his takedown defense, especially with a strong wrestler like Amirkhani. So there might be some value in just maybe sprinkling a little bit on the Makwan by decision, or maybe even Makwan by submission prop. But my official pick will be Murphy. I think what he's going to do is really feint a lot, avoid any of the wild stuff from Makwan. I think his takedowns aren't really going to be incredibly effective unless they're against the cage. I think outside in the open, Murphy's going to sprawl, and I think he's just going to eventually tire him out and just dominate the remaining rounds. But we'll get to see what happens in this fight. My biggest concern is that Makwan, although he does gas out, he's very, very relentless with the takedown. So if he wants a takedown, he's going to eventually either get it or die trying. But yeah, I got Murphy by decision.
I remember Amirkhani. I, for some reason, thought, oh, hey, this guy stands a chance against Edson Barboza. He didn't, nor Kamuela Kirk. So he's let me down more times than I'd care. So that's one of the reasons I'm going with Murphy, even though there is the possibility that Murphy can get grapple fucked or wrestle fucked here. But if Amirkhani, let's say he didn't bother working on his wrestling for whatever reason, he's like, I don't need my wrestling for this, for this fight. I don't need it against Murphy. And then Murphy just pieces him up on the feet. This is another coin flip fight in my eyes. I don't see a clear winner. It's, too many questions mark. What if? There's too many what ifs for me there. What if Amirkhani doesn't wrestle? What if Lerone, for whatever reason, is off that night? If his striking isn't what it normally is, what if he doesn't pack a punch, so to speak? I think it's more, will Amirkhani have, come to the fight with a wrestle heavy, grapple heavy game plan? So it all just depends on Amirkhani. He hasn't been very consistent as of late. And I don't think he'll, I don't know, man. I don't think he'll be around the UFC too much longer. I don't think.
Well, that's one thing to add. He desperately needs a win. So we'll see if he's going to go for broke in that first round.
I don't know, man. Training with SBG Ireland, I don't think so. I think more than likely, if he throws a kick, his leg might break. So there's that. SBG Ireland, I don't know, man. I think he's at the wrong camp. Because I was thinking about this. How if there's like a super popular or super successful fighter that that fame and that notoriety transfers over to the coach and thereby the gym. You know what I mean? Case in point, Ronda Rousey. You know, she was super successful, and everybody's like, "Oh, hey, you know, some of then her success is due to the fact that she was training at Glendale Fight Club and saying, "Oh, hey, he's a great trainer," but it turns out he wasn't. Some people are like, "Oh no, man, this guy is a horrible fucking trainer."
Oh, you know what's funny?
And it's
you know who
gym.
didn't think he was a horrible fucking trainer? Jake Ellenberger. And yeah, that ruined his fucking career moving to Glendale. Oh God, dude.
Oh yeah,
remember
that's right.
him, Travis Brown, mostly though Jake Ellenberger, because I'm like, what happened to Jake? I'm like, wait a minute, he's training out of. Oh, okay. Poor Jake.
Well, Travis hit the lottery. He just has to do Ronda's laundry. And compensation for food and room and board. So it worked out for him, but Jake not so much. Jake ended up with what's her name? Shayla Baszler or something, or Shayna Baszler, whatever. But anyway. Yeah, so there's that sort of thing, and it's the same thing with SBG Ireland, because McGregor had a little bit of success. Now it kind of transferred over to like, oh hey, SBG Ireland must be a good place to train, and they're giving a lot of the SBG guys chances and whatnot. Although I should say, McGregor got the fame and fortune, but he can't hold a candle to the real GOAT of that gym, who's no longer there, and that's Lobov. Anyway, I forgot what point I was trying to make. This guy trains at SPG Ireland, so I don't know, man. I think he's, I'm pretty sure they didn't train. I don't know, man. I get the feeling that they train fighters like as a joke or something.
Johnny Walker's there now, and
exactly.
he's a fucking joke now. Jesus, poor John. What did they do to my boy Johnny?
Yeah, man. So it's, I don't know, dude. So that alone, should make you, just stay wary of this fight in general. If you do, I'd say don't include it in any parlays. And if you do go on this, don't go deep, make this 0.00001% play, bet, $1 or something, or just some small amount. Don't go deep on this. This is not the fight to do that on this card. There's better fights to predict, better fights to enjoy. But yeah, stay away from Amirkhani.
And just because I forgot, what was your official pick? Was it Murphy by decision or TKO?
I'm going with Lerone, because I don't know if it's Lerone or Lerone. But I'm going with him, I would say by decision, because I'm staying away from Amirkhani. He's let me down way too often. Too much. Once is too much. Twice, egg in my face. 3 times, hell no, I'm not going with this guy.
Our next bout at light heavyweight, we've got a bout between Lord Mikhail Oleksiejczuk versus Shamil Umar Gamzatov. And currently the odds have it in favor of, I don't even have to look at them, but Shamil Gamzatov minus 165. Comeback on Lord is plus 140. And this was one of these bouts where I completely forgot who Shamil was. I had to really think. I'm like, when did I see this guy fight? Yeah, a year, almost 2 fucking years ago. And I had no idea who this guy was. Like, he completely was erased from my memory. So I had to go watch his tape and watch the fight with him and Klidson Abreu. One could make the argument that he lost that fight. It was a split decision, and I don't know what the hell was going on in that fight, because Shamil, he's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. He is, I don't know what ranking he is in Sambo, but that's his thing, is the Sambo. Not one takedown did I see in that fight from Shamil. Actually, Klidson took him down, and I'm like, what the fuck? And like, I know the outcome. I'm like, how does he win this fight? What does he do? Does he do something in the 3rd round? He's an okay Russian. The sad thing is he's probably going to win this by a decision, because again, last name ends in Ov. But yeah, I don't really like what I see from this guy. He's 14-0. He's 31 years old. People talk about him like he's like the next, I don't know, Khabib in light heavyweight form, but he doesn't really possess, or at least I haven't seen anything from this guy that tells me he's going to be a world beater. Hence the reason why his his line is so, I guess, reasonable. He's again minus 165 with the Oev at the end of the fucking name. You would think he'd be like a minus 300, but it automatically puts some value on Oleksiejczuk because although, let's be frank, his takedown defense and his ground game isn't the best. He's been submitted twice by Ovince St. Preux and Jimmy Crute. He has some value to him because of his striking. His striking is very, very aggressive. He's very fast. He's a fast starter. He goes after you very, very quickly. So there's a possibility that he could even get a knockout in maybe the early rounds because Shamil does get hit a lot. Klidson Abreu was kind of lighting him up in certain spots. This is one of these fights where I'm not touching it. I have to go with Shamil. I think if he does implement some actual grappling in his fight and doesn't just try to keep it on the feet, he should win this one because again, Oleksiejczuk, his ground game is very suspect. But in all honesty, this is potentially a split decision. If Mikhail's takedown defense has improved, he's going to keep it on the feet and kind of batter Gamzatov up because again, he's very hittable. It's a tough one. I might actually put a little bit of money on Oleksiejczuk to win by maybe a finish or just straight up to win at plus dog money. But my official pick has to be the Oev. I think the Oev is going to win this one by a split decision. It kind of sucks, man. I'm interested in seeing this fight because I see some value in, again, the underdog to win this one. Although it's really dumb to say that because we've got a brown belt in jiu-jitsu that if he just takes it to the ground, he should be able to maneuver himself into a choke. But I don't know if he's going to do that. I don't think Shamil's going to try to take it to the ground. We'll see because, again, maybe he didn't want to play the ground game with Abreu. Maybe he'll do that with Oleksiejczuk. But yeah, my official pick will be Gamzatov. His last name ends in Ov. He should win this one.
Yeah, his nickname is Umar. So that's he's got the haircut, he's got the beard. Can't go against him in this fight. Especially, I mean, I'll just call him Lord. Yeah, Lord has a chance on the feet, but as soon as it hits the ground, he might as well, he might as well just be just lay there and just wait for the third round bell to ring because that's where he's going to spend most of his time.
I'm sorry to cut you off, dude. I forgot to mention because I'm an idiot and I forgot to read. I saw that his record's kind of padded too for Shamil. So that's what kind of makes me think there might be some value on Mikhail. But yeah, his record's not all that great. He has a couple of split decisions on there that it's questionable.
Yeah, man. These earlier fights, they're very risky. This isn't anything I'd be confident in saying, include this and, maybe your base parlay or whatever, or put a lot down in this fight. I'm fairly sure Shamil's going to win, but then again, we've seen some crazy stuff happen, some unexpected knockouts and whatever. But going against these, it depends on what level of Russian this guy is, or he's going to be. Is he Khabib?
No, he's not.
Is he like Fedor level? Is he, you know what I mean? There's levels to it, and
yeah,
it just all kind of depends on what he's, what he's developing, what he currently is, and what he'll develop into.
I wrote down on my notepad here, okay Russian. Like he's just an okay Russian.
Yeah. Yeah, man. He's but you can't always go with that Russian haircut beard combo. Because I remember one of the Nurmagomedovs, it's not Ubakar or Usman, it's some other Nurmagomedov where it's like, I guess this guy's the runt of the litter, or he's, he was babied, or he just was, or he was the one where it's like, okay, let's train him as a joke, sort of thing. And then he's, like the Kung Pao. I always refer back to it, just because it's so goddamn good. I don't know why a sequel was never made. Anyway, now's probably a good time for that guy to fund a sequel on on those websites where I'm pretty sure it'll get funded, because that was a goddamn movie, great movie. But I'll go with Shamil here. It's not being at light heavyweight. Mikhail does have a puncher's chance, but I guess we'll see just how dominant of a Russian with Shamil is with the wrestling. I'd say weigh-ins is a pretty good indication. We'll see how well these two guys stack up, but more so like, hey, did Shamil take the Khabib route where he starves himself and he looks like he's about to fall on the scale, but then he still kicks ass, he powers through it? Or, did he take the, I guess the long way around, cut weight, cut weight professionally, and, he looks like filled out and, energetic, or is he going to look like he's about to fall over? So I think this is going to be another one of the fights where it'll be good to pay attention to the weigh-ins for this fight. See how these guys look, whatnot. Referring back to that piece of garbage, Paulo Costa. Man, I don't know. I just dislike that guy so much. It's I don't know, man.
Well, I'll wait till the break to go off on Paulo Costa, but okay. Yeah. Our next bout at welterweight. Currently no odds on this one because it seems to be a short notice bout. Elizeu Capoeira Zaleski dos Santos versus God of War Benoit Saint-Denis. And interesting bout because I had no idea who this Benoit Saint-Denis was. So I had to do obvious research on this guy, and it's kind of hard to find really any information on him unless you're doing like a deep dive. You have to watch some of his tape. He is currently 8-0, 100% finish rate, which is like, oh, interesting. What else is he? Then you're like, oh, wow, he's a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. Oh, interesting. He's a black belt in judo. I'm like, oh, wow, this guy is he's sounding great. And then you look at him, he looks like a badass. And then you see that he's 25 years old. I'm like, oh my God. It's like that gif of Vince McMahon where he's like, ooh, and then he falls off of his fucking chair. And then you come back to reality and you're like, oh, he's French. Fuck. You're like, oh, okay. All right. So I'm doing research on this guy, trying to see, is he going to beat Zaleski? Because this is one of these spots, right? The unknown guy, the unknown undefeated guy, 100% finish rate, comes in here with some guy who is, he's pretty solid. He's not ever going to be champion, but he's very exciting. He's kind of treading on like Brazilian cowboy territory now, where he's getting older. He's 34 years old, Zaleski, that is. And he's always fun to watch, but does he have it in him? Are these younger guys going to roll over him? And after watching tape on Benoit, I was like, maybe not, because although he is a judo black belt, purple belt jiu-jitsu, he has a lot of finishes on the ground. Mostly he reminds me a lot of a French Sean Brady, but not as well polished as Sean Brady, because his takedowns, although he's a judo black belt, they're not the best. He actually has a no contest on his record against I can't pronounce the name. It's he is Polish, but I'll go with Powell. He got headbutted, cut wide open. It was initially a loss on his record because it was a doctor stoppage, but because it was caused by an illegal headbutt, it got overturned. In that bout, he looked pretty shitty. That was 5 bouts ago. His striking is very lacking. He's primarily a guy who's going to take you to the ground, either try to pound you out or get you in a head and arm choke. He actually has a pretty solid knee bar submission, where he actually got a knee bar similar to the way that Lipsky got it on Carolina, but in a different position, not against the cage. It was just a nasty knee bar. So his grappling is pretty solid. But yeah, I don't know if it's going to be enough to really do much against Zaleski. Zaleski's 22-7 on his record. He's fought some of the best fighters in the world. And for a young guy, 25, very inexperienced, to come in here and try to take his spot, I don't know what the hell they were thinking. I think they're really seeing a lot of potential with Benoit, and I see it as well. But I don't know if this is the spot for him. It's going to be an interesting fight. I would like to see the odds on this one because currently Tapology is pretty close on who they think is going to win this fight. They have Zaleski to win 55%, Saint-Denis to come back on 45%. So they think it's a pretty close fight. But from what I've seen, if it stays on the feet, Zaleski's going to piece this guy up. Although his chin is pretty solid, never been knocked out, his striking it's leaving a lot to be desired. He does open up with a lot of kicks, so I can see a way that Zaleski might be able to counter him. Zaleski's very fast on the feet. His ground game's not terrible. He's a black belt himself, if I recall correctly. I mean, he submitted Curtis Millender, so he's smart enough to take down Millender and choke him out. The only issue is that his chin, he got cracked by Jingliang. And last time in Abu Dhabi, it didn't go so great for him. He got kind of robbed against Salikov. I have to go with Zaleski to win this one. I think he can get a finish. I really don't know how good Benoit's chin is, so it might potentially go to a decision. I'll go, to be safe, Zaleski by decision. We'll see, though. I'm not 100% confident in this fight because Benoit could maybe get it to the ground and just dominate Zaleski because, again, there's a lot of question marks on this bout. But from what I've seen, if it stays on the feet and Zaleski avoids any takedowns, I think he's going to win this one. So I've got currently Zaleski by decision. Might see until weigh-ins to see how they look, but I think Zaleski, again, should be able to put a striking clinic on Benoit.
Yeah, this is one of those. I don't want to put Zaleski up there with Jim Miller, but he does have. I am giving him, a slight edge just because of his experience. There's always a chance that, hey, these, debutantes, it's my new word of the month, come in and, that, like that guy, Patty something or other, with
Pimblett.
That guy with the Lord Farquaad haircut, comes in and, knocks out a guy, gets some hype behind him. Or like Ilya Topuria, I've been very high on that guy ever since his debut. And this guy has some hype coming behind him, but until we actually see what he does against a very experienced Zaleski, can't go with him necessarily. I am giving Zaleski a slight edge, just due to his experience. Yes, he's 9 years older, almost 10 years older. So there's that to take into consideration. And Zaleski, he did lose to Muslim, but it's not like he got, the hell. It's not like he got his lights put out. So I think his chin should be okay for this fight. But yeah, I guess we'll see if, Benoit comes in here and is or does what, Hector Lombard was supposed to do.
Oh, I thought you were going to go somewhere else.
What do you mean?
I thought you were going to say if Benoit would pull a Benoit on Zaleski.
Yeah, if he, cross-face cripples him, which I don't think he will.
That's not what I meant, but let's go with that.
So I'll go with Zaleski. I'm fairly confident he'll get the decision. But I guess we'll see what Benoit's made of. We can speculate, but we got to actually see him fight to see, to better cap Benoit's next fight. But as of right now, I do know Zaleski. So I'm going with what I know, reluctantly, not very confidently, by decision.
Our next bout at middleweight, we've got a bout between Albert Machete Duraev and Roman Kopylov. Currently, the odds are in favor of Machete, minus 275, comeback on Kopylov, plus 210. Interesting bout between two Russian fighters. Starting with the debutant Duraev, he made his, octagon debut in the Contender Series 4 weeks ago. Got a submission over Kyle Bittencourt. Initially called out the entire middleweight division in front of Dana White. He was clearly brought into the UFC. He's 14-3. From what I have here, mostly negative things about the guy. He's a piece of shit, and he is a cat abuser, and then he's pro something. I don't want to say. Let's just say his nickname Machete would correlate to what he thinks is good. But despite him being a piece of shit and all, I'm not really betting on him as a human being. I'm betting on this guy for what he can do. And the guy is a pretty solid guy. He's a Sambo practitioner. He gets the job done. He can get the job done on the ground, mainly by either beating your ass in by punching your head in or submitting you. As for Roman Kopylov, he's another Russian. He's 30 years old. He's 8-1. Although he is a master in sport, where allegedly you have to have over 150 some bouts to be considered a master in sport, in combat sports, he's only very young in his MMA career. His last bout was against Karl Roberson about 2 years ago. And when you look at that particular performance and you see what Albert Duraev recently did to Kyle Bittencourt, makes you think, wow, it should be a pretty simple fight. It should be that Albert takes down Roman Kopylov and submits him either in round 1 or just eventually. I don't think that's going to be that easy. And the reason I say that is because Kopylov, he's good, right? He's primarily a kicker. He prefers to stay standing, although he's competent on the ground. Even I know I'm saying that after he got submitted by striker Karl Roberson, but he's competent enough. And the thing about Duraev is that he's okay, right? Like he's not the next big thing. I think this might be one of these letdown spots for people who bet on Duraev. I think he should win this fight. I think he should get it by submission. But the in-between in that, what's going to happen when he shoots for a takedown? Again, Kopylov, he's a very solid kicker. That's primarily his weapon of choice is the kicks. He throws a variety of different kicks. He's got very good movement. And I've always kind of noticed that the Russian versus Russian matchup isn't always the best because, for example, Albert Duraev, he fought Razaman Ameev. Razaman Ameev, the fucking decision machine. This motherfucker got knocked out by Razaman Ameev. Although this was, I believe, in welterweight years ago. It's still kind of concerning. How good is his chin? I mean, he's been knocked out a couple times. If I go back and look at his record, he's been knocked out a total of 1, 2, 3 times. I'm not saying he's going to get knocked out by Kopylov, but it's always in the back of your head. Like, it's a possibility, man. He's kind of riding a huge wave of momentum. He's very cocky. I kind of want to see him to get knocked out after doing research on what he's kind of said and done. You can do it on your own time. But I think he gets the job done. Again, with Roman Kopylov, we haven't seen him in almost 2 years. We'll see how his takedown defense really turns out. I might take a small shot on him. And this has been kind of a recurring thing I've been saying, that I'm taking shots on other guys. And the reason for it is that his last name ends in Ov and Duraev ends in EV. So I'm going to go with that train. I might even do a parlay with all the Ovs and see how that turns out for me. Maybe it works out, but I'm going to go with Duraev to win this one by, I want to say maybe a second round submission. My biggest concern with this one for any of you guys that are super confident in Duraev is that how is he going to look if he can't get the first round sub, the second round sub, if he's forced to strike with Roman Kopylov. I know Kopylov didn't look all that great against Karl Roberson. He was a little too hesitant, but I'm going to probably take a small shot on Kopylov. My official pick, though, would be Duraev to win this one by a second round sub.
Yeah, I agree. Funny enough, Roman Kopylov in that picture that they have on Tapology reminds me of Chase Hooper a little bit.
A little bit, huh?
Like, the long shot, he's a Russian Chase Hooper, or maybe Hooper's, his parents changed their name to, from Hooper Ayev to, they shortened it to Hooper when he came to the U.S. Um, yeah, but you're right. This is this is a tough matchup in the sense of, I mean, this guy Duraev, he's most likely going to win. But in the back of my mind, there's something, there's like an itch, and I don't know. I guess I should see a doctor for that. But there's that little thing in the back of your head saying, but Kopylov, has a chance. It's not. This isn't one of those. Oh yeah, it's going to be total domination from bell to bell, or he's going to, Damian Maia, school him like Damian Maia would, or something. So it's difficult in that sense, but this is. I mean, I'm fairly certain Duraev will win, but it's just a matter of, will he be able to get that submission? And if he doesn't, will he be able to dominate the rest of the fight to get to the decision? So there's that if, you know what I mean? Because if he doesn't, will they stand back up? Will he get pieced up on the feet? There's too many questions for me to be confident in this one, saying, yeah, for sure, he's going to be, I'm like more than 90% sure. I'm like maybe 60% sure that, he'll get the decision. I'm like maybe 20% sure he'll get a submission. So there's that, but I'm sticking with Duraev. This one's tough. I would say by early second round, rear naked choke. I'll go with that.
Our next bout at featherweight, we've got a fight between Zubaira Tukhugov and Ricardo Ramos. Interesting bout. This one's, I think it's close, but let's see what the odds say. We have it currently for Tukhugov minus 165. Come back on Ramos plus 145. And for a fight taking place in Abu Dhabi, I would say those are pretty close. I wouldn't be surprised if the odds kind of even out a little bit, because I think this one's actually very, very close. I'm actually leaning towards possibly even taking a small shot on the draw prop to see if that might even happen. Mainly because Zubaira, he's had some issues as of late. His last fight against Hakeem Dawodu, he didn't look all that great. And by all that great, I mean, he looked like absolute dog shit. He lost that one by a split decision. I actually had him on a parlay. He was my last guy to win on that parlay. And I thought, you know what? Fuck it. I know that he came in overweight. He came in at 150, but that should maybe help him out, especially with the grappling. And, we found out that Dawodu is kind of like a wrestler's worst dream at this point. He's pretty solid when it comes to the takedown defense. And if you don't finish him off, he's going to come after you. As for Ricardo Ramos, his thing is that he's pretty solid everywhere. I think these two guys are very, very evenly matched. Ricardo's going to be the bigger guy. He's 5'9" compared to the 5'8" of Tukhugov. He's got a 72-inch reach compared to the 68-inch reach for Tukhugov. And I can see him winning this fight. The thing about Zubaira is that he does gas out. He is notorious for slowing down. He's very good with the striking and the movement and the wrestling. But how is that going to work out when Ricardo Ramos is going to be the one going for the takedowns? Is he going to exhaust himself defending takedowns, or, just trying to keep it on the feet, trying to sprawl and brawl, or is he going to go for the takedowns and try to dominate Ramos on the ground and try to play that game against the jiu-jitsu black belt? So it's going to be interesting. I can even see this fight going all the way for Ramos, and Tukhugov still gets the decision, because you're not betting the guy right now. You're betting on who you think the judges are going to give the fight to if this goes to a decision. And that's why I'm kind of leaning towards a draw, because his fight with Lerone Murphy, which went to a draw, was in Abu Dhabi. And that's one of those fights where I don't know what the hell happened there with Tukhugov, but yeah, he has the tendency to really significantly slow down the pace. And I can see Ramos out cardioing him and just having the bigger moments. It's really, really tough, because like, if you overthink this, like, I want to go with Tukhugov to win, because logically, he ends in Av, but he's not the best of the bunch. Again, he misses weight sometimes. Whether I'm not sure what happened at that time. Was it because Khabib's dad passed away that maybe it had an impact on him? Maybe traveling to Abu Dhabi is causing him issues. But sometimes if his head's not in it, it's not really worth betting on him. And I think Ramos, for those odds, he's a pretty solid underdog. I'll go with Ramos mainly because I think he'll have the better moments in there. And I'm also betting against the gas tank of Tukhugov because, again, if he tries to wrestle, it's not going to be the best for him, especially with a very aggressive Ricardo Ramos on the ground. And if Ricardo tries to wrestle, Tukhugov's gas tank's not going to really do all that great. But we'll see. This is all speculative. Maybe Tukhugov has really worked on his cardio, but this one's tough. That's why I'm kind of leaning to maybe a decision or a draw. But I'll go with Ramos just because I can't really put my eggs in the basket of Tukhugov anymore. I bet him again to beat Dawodu, and he let me down. And now we've got a guy who's very competent in Ramos that I think could potentially beat him. So I'll go with Ramos to win this one, mainly staying away from Tukhugov because I guess personal bias because he lost me money the last time. But in reality, I think Ramos, he has a chance to win this one. So at those odds, I'll go with Ramos by decision.
Yeah, I was about to say that this is the first fight where I'm actually going against the Russian. Yeah, for good reason, man. Tukhugov is, sure, he trains with Khabib, but I don't know how closely Khabib maybe trains this guy. I don't know what level, where he is on his training list or whatever. I know because he trains Usmar and trains all the Russian guys. So I don't know if this guy falls through the cracks or whatever, and he just doesn't pay attention to his cardio, his nutrition, whatever, and that's what's affecting his weight cuts and his lack of cardio, I should say. But this is not a good spot for him. Usually I would say between an experienced wrestler and an experienced jiu-jitsu practitioner, grappler, the wrestler might have the edge in getting dominant positions on the ground. But in this case, and in a similar case, actually, and I want to say similar in, just the circumstances, when Ben Askren fought Damian Maia, I actually thought, oh, hey, Ben Askren is going to be able to, get dominant positions on Damian Maia, but no, I was wrong. It's Ben Askren. Damian Maia schooled his ass. He wasn't able to do shit pretty much, and that showed, oh, hey, dominant. Or at least what I thought was going to be a dominant wrestler wasn't going to be able to get good positions on the grappler, the jiu-jitsu grappler. Basically dominated Askren. And I think this is similar in that that's what's going to happen here. I think Ramos is going to school to Tukhugov. I don't know if Khabib's going to be there with him because, there's an event. There's also the Moscow event. I don't know if he's going to be with his cousin Umar or Usman or whatever, whoever the hell is fighting in Russia this time. So I think Khabib's going to be there, and he's not going to be with this guy. So this guy's going to, I'm pretty sure they have good tiramisu in Abu Dhabi, and he's going to fuck that up. He's going to fuck himself.
Did you say they have good tiramisu in Abu Dhabi?
I guess so. I don't know. They got good some shit over there. I mean, it looks looks pretty fancy, and these guys, they eat very well over there. So I'm also going with Ramos. Let's see. I'll go with decision. I always go with decision with these guys unless I know it's going to be like a biggie boy knockout or some shit. So I'll go safe. I'll just go with Ricardo Ramos by decision.
Our next bout at strawweight, we've got Amanda Ribas versus Virna Jandiroba. What's funny is that I'm editing the audio, but I literally just said, let me go take a piss real quick. And it's funny that I took a piss right before the piss break fight. Amanda Ribas versus Virna Jandiroba. It's a joke. Actually, it's a pretty solid fight. I'm interested in watching it. But because it's women's MMA, you have to go take a piss during the fight. But currently the odds have it minus 140 for Ribas comeback on Jandiroba, plus 115. Now, how can I put this? We have our biases against Amanda Ribas for getting knocked out twice against Marina Rodriguez about 8 months ago. Before that, she was 10-1. Her only loss being to, if I remember, was it? It was one of the ladies. I'm trying to remember if it was. It wasn't. It was Polyana Viana. I was thinking it was Lipski, but no, it was Polyana Viana. She got knocked out by her, and after that, she went on a tear, went undefeated, even beat Mackenzie Dern. Her jiu-jitsu, her striking, her judo, she's still very, very good, but that blemish on her record against Marina Rodriguez really put a sour taste in a lot of bettors' mouths, especially mine, and I'm sure yours too, Jose. As for Virna Jandiroba, she's very solid. This is a close fight between two jiu-jitsu girls. It's going to come down to the striking between these two, because once it hits the ground, I think it's going to be an entertaining battle. We'll see who has the better jiu-jitsu. They're both very dangerous on the ground. Amanda Ribas, she will be at a 3-inch reach advantage. And despite her losing recently, well, not recently, 8 months ago to Marina Rodriguez, and that being kind of a weird spot, when you look at it in the bigger picture, she got knocked out by one of the best strikers in her division. And it's not out of the realm of possibility for that to happen. And I think it mainly happened because she may not have been incredibly focused in that fight. She did take her down. It's just that she allowed Marina to get back up, and that's when she got cracked. And Virna Jandiroba, her striking's not the greatest, but she can swing and she can connect, and she does hit relatively hard. She's quite aggressive. So the way I see this, as long as Ribas doesn't get touched and cracked, I think she wins this fight. I think she's the better fighter between the two. I think her striking is just way more technical. It's just that she has that chin liability. And maybe it's not fair for me to say that, because, again, she got knocked out by some of the hardest hitting women in her division. And I will say Jandiroba will have the chin advantage. She's never really been cracked or knocked out. And she actually even had a slugging fight with Mackenzie Dern. And Mackenzie, despite her not really knocking a lot of girls out, she does hit hard. I don't think Amanda's going to be able to finish this fight, but I do see her just staying on the outside, using her better footwork, the same type of footwork she used against the bum rushing Mackenzie Dern, and just pick her apart on the outside. There's a chance she gets caught again. I really doubt that. I think she's going to be more focused. I haven't seen many of her Instagram pictures or stuff like that anymore, so it seems as if she's kind of dialed that back. That's been an issue. That's kind of a warning sign for us. Mainly you brought this up, Jose. When they become an Instagram thought, they are no longer focused on training, jiu-jitsu, any of that shit. They primarily just want to be the Instagram thought. And that's kind of what Ribas became for a little bit when she was getting that notoriety and submitting Paige Van Zandt and shit. But yeah, I think as long as she comes correct, she should win this one pretty easily by a decision. She might have a couple hairy moments here or there where she might get clipped, but I think she should be able to implement her overall MMA game and come out with a decision.
Yeah, that's the issue with these girls, man. They get a little bit of recognition, and all of a sudden they forget, what got them to the show. Yeah, similar to when Agapova lost to Dobson. She focused. I guess they tend to forget, that they're fighters, and they can't just get up off the couch and continue winning matches. I don't know. It's a big question mark for Ribas. But if she comes, with as you mentioned, in the right mindset, trained, like she's fighting, a very dangerous opponent, because she is, she should have, more than enough to beat Virna, even though I do like Virna. But for sure, I think Ribas is the more talented fighter. Well, slightly better rounded, but she has a ways to go. She beat Paige Van Zandt big whoop. So did damn it, her name escapes me. Hawaiian, big rack.
I know who you're talking
What's
about,
her
but I
name?
just can't remember her name.
Rachel Ostovich.
Rachel
Yes.
Ostovich.
Yeah,
Big
Rachel.
rack.
Rachel Ostovich beat the hell out of. But
Hey,
anyway, Ribas just got caught up too much in the online fame that she got for. It's like, oh hey, I'm cute, yes, but she has to focus on fighting because she's not that cute.
I think she is. I like her.
Unless she gets an OnlyFans, and then that's a whole different other game. She's I think if she wants to pay for her car and her house, like Andrade did, and I'm all for it. But I think she has a bigger ceiling as far as how far she could go in the UFC versus Virna. Virna is, I think, gone as far as she will. I think she'll still fight in some entertaining fights, but it's all there for Amanda, to take it by the hair and slap that ass. She's got to, just come with it. She's got the talent. She just has to, that Instagram shit, leave it for what it is, but she's got to focus on training and getting her shit right. Because like I said, she does have the talent, but if she forgoes that and thinks that Instagram's going to propel her to championship, she is dead wrong. So I'll take Ribas by decision reluctantly. I don't think she'll be able to submit Virna. She might get a TKO depending on how hard she goes at her, but I guess I'm always reluctant to go with anything but the decision. But in these sorts of fights, especially it's women's MMA, so will I be betting on this fight? Fuck no. Staying away from this shit. I don't want another Mackenzie Dern on my fucking hands.
On a side note, Kay Hansen has a OnlyFans now, so look to fade her in the near future.
Oh, I'm going to do some research on that.
And before we break down the main card, please leave a comment, subscribe, of course. I hate saying that, dude. I hate being like, oh, like, share, subscribe. I don't know why I'm going off on a tangent. Maybe because I'm still pissed about Paulo Costa after that bullshit antic that he pulled. We're recording this the Friday before the fight, so we don't know what's gonna happen. But my initial pick was Paulo Costa, and I'm riding with that shit, right? I'm riding with it. I knew the risks of picking this fucking idiot, and frankly, what's crazy and what's gonna bother me is if he actually wins this fight, because he's fucking missing weight. He's not taking responsibility for his goddamn poor actions. It's kind of funny. I'm not gonna lie. Like, when Vettori's going off on him, like, you're not fucking making weight and this and that. He's like, well, that's your problem. I'm like, oh shit, that's kind of funny, but still, like, cosmically, what a piece of shit. But yeah, man, you were spot on. Something's wrong with this fucking guy. And the craziest thing is he could go in there fully fucking Jewist out of his mind and potentially get the knockout. And by Jewist, I mean he's full of fucking fluids, but maybe still he has some Jewis's in his system. Damn, it's crazy. It's crazy what's happening with this guy.
Yeah, man, I thought that was complete bullshit. I mean, Vittori's, I guess gangster in the sense of he's like, fuck it, let's do it.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I'm riding with Vettori on this one, even though Costa, I think he's a piece of shit, and I don't think he deserves main event spots.
No.
I think he's done. I think he's done. I know that one guy on the comments last week said, like, oh, we'll see. No, we won't see. You're seeing it.
I think at this point it's really hard to argue, even if he gets the finish, which, like, I'm still kind of hoping for, because I did place a bet on him before all this bullshit happened. Funny enough, I actually even made a small parlay with Vettori on it. But yeah, man, it's really hard to justify the shit he's been pulling right now. Like, it's very unprofessional. Yeah. And if he loses, I'm not surprised if they let him go. I know it's crazy to think because he's still an entertaining fighter, but do you really want to deal with that shit?
Well, he was an entertaining fighter. I don't think he is going to be anymore. I think he's He's unfortunately going to go downhill, pretty fast, like a fighter he beat in Johnny Hendricks.
God, damn, dude.
His career, I shit you not, is mirroring Johnny Hendricks's somewhat, except for the fact that Johnny Hendricks had the belt for a moment. Besides that, his career is mirroring Johnny Hendricks. Johnny Hendricks, got too fat. He couldn't make the 175-pound weight class, so he moved up to 185. He shit the bed there. He lost his steakhouse. I don't know if Paulo Costa has a fucking all-you-can-eat Brazilian barbecue food stand or some shit, but if he does, he's gonna lose that. He's gonna.
Don't tell me he's gonna go to bare knuckle and get knocked out by a former gay porn star.
No, he's gonna go to Gamebred FC and get cornholed there again. But this guy, I think he's a piece of garbage, man. I don't think he deserves to be in the UFC. He trains with Cejudo, but he isn't Cejudo. You know what I mean? That's the thing about that. Anyway, it just pissed me off, man. I think, like I said, I'm riding with Vettori because I think he's a gangster for doing that. But if I were Vettori, I would have been like, no, fine his ass. Take away 70% of his purse. We'll fight, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that was a bitch move on Costa's part. He's like, I'm not going to even attempt to make the weight. Yeah, fuck that shit, man. Fuck that guy.
Yeah. So I'll say that the big ball's on Vettori, so props on him. But moving on. Main card opener, Magomed Ankalaev versus Volkan Oezdemir. And currently the odds have it in favor of course, Ankalaev. Unfortunately, he's not Ankalaev. Minus 350 for him. Oezdemir comes back plus 260. And it's not really difficult to break down. Volkan Oezdemir's very foot heavy. It's like, damn, like that's a stupid way to put it. He's a very plotty fighter. He doesn't really bounce on his feet. He can obviously get a knockout. And Magomed's never been knocked out, but he's been choked out by Paul Craig, which it was at that time like, oh my God, a huge stunt. I can't believe that happened. And in some ways it is a stunt that he had the whole fight won and he just got caught. But it's becoming less and less of an issue or a blemish on his record. It is, of course, the only blemish, but it's not as bad as, losing to Roman Kopylov at that time and getting submitted by him. Paul Craig is the most dangerous submission artist at light heavyweight right now. And it's crazy to even say, just knowing his background and how many times he's been knocked out, but it's insane that they're going to be tied together. It could even be that Ankalaev becomes the champion at light heavyweight, and they're always going to have he lost to Paul Craig, which is going to suck, but it's not as bad as it was maybe a couple years ago. It's like, yeah, you know what? It happened now. Let's move on. Ankalaev learned from that, and he's going to probably decision the shit out of Volkan Oezdemir. The reason I say decision, and that's my official pick, is Ankalaev by decision, is that Volkan Oezdemir, he's very, very dangerous. He can knock you out with either hand. He's very tough. He's been knocked out by Yuri Prochaska, and that's not even that bad of a blemish either. Knowing what Prochaska is doing now, no shit, he's going to knock him out. Like it's difficult not to get knocked out by Yuri. And funny enough, during that fight card, I was in Vegas and I had all my parlays laid out. My dumbass picked Oezdemir to win, and that was my final fight that I had him to win. And I cashed out a couple like $500. And I was so fucking excited. I'm like, oh, this Yuri Prochaska, this guy, he's been fighting bums in Russia, and I don't think he's gonna be that good. He's super exciting. And then we saw what fucking happened, dude. Oh my God, Yuri. Like I still have my thoughts about Yuri, but this dude is, as I think you put it perfectly once, this guy is exactly what we thought Johnny Walker was gonna be. But honestly, he's much better than that, because the way he sets up his strikes, he's kind of like a cobra in there. He like lures you in, then he hits you with a fucking out of nowhere punch straight down the middle, spinning elbows, all that shit. So yeah, Volkan losing to him is not the worst blemish on his record, especially getting knocked out the way he did. It's gonna happen. It sucks. Magomed though, he's very fucking skilled. If he wants to take it to the ground, he will. He's been unblemished other than that Paul Craig fight. He's going to win this one by decision. The reason I say decision and not knockout is because Volkan's going to be tough. I think he's going to pose a lot of threats. If you get too close to him, he's going to be swinging and winging punches. And I don't think Magomed's going to want to take that chance, especially in Abu Dhabi. He's just going to stay on the outside, throw kicks, and maybe even go for a couple takedowns just to solidify the rounds if they do get a little too close on the feet. Volkan, again, he's a solid, very, very high-skilled kickboxer, but I don't think he's going to have anything for Magomed, so I'll go Magomed by decision.
Yeah, this one's going to be tough for Volkan, man. I was very high on Volkan for a long while until he kept getting his ass beat. I think, let me see. When did his, let's see, I think his, yeah, it was the DC, the DC fight that started this downhill trajectory, for Oezdemir. Yeah, DC. Then Anthony Smith fucked him up. He lost to Reyes. He came back. Oh, he beat Latifi and Rakic. Split decision. That was crazy. But yeah, he got demolished by Prochaska. That's crazy. And I think Ankalaev is like a Russian Prochaska to a certain degree, because I think Ankalaev is Ankalaev. I'm going to call him Ankalaev. I'm going to call him Ankalaev. It's easier for me. I think Magomed is likely to fight for the title. I'm actually excited for the main event, but down the line, a main event for the title, between Magomed and Prochaska, I think that would be crazy as hell. That'd be like, holy shit, But here, yeah, I think Volkan. I don't think he'll ever fight for the title again. I think, he's going to continue on a downward trajectory. I don't know if they're going to keep him around for much longer, or if they're going to keep him around indefinitely. I don't know if he's going to become the male Ronda Marcos, or they're just going to keep him around as a punching bag for, up and coming fighters. Who knows what his future holds? But as far as this fight, does not look good for him. He is out of time. He is his nickname. He has no time left in this fight to prepare. I sent you that quote from Tyson Fury, where
let me read it, actually. Let me read it out loud with that voice that I use when I'm doing voice recording. So it's a quote from Anthony Joshua that says, "I get out of bed at dawn to train. I put in the hard yard to fatigue myself physically and mentally. I've been in the edge." Tyson Fury says, "I masturbate 7 times a day to keep me sharp. I also plenty of pussy licking to strengthen my jaw."
I don't think Oezdemir, has read that quote, nor do I think he's, taking the Tyson Fury, road to training, which is unfortunate for him. Otherwise, he'd have a real strong jaw, and at that point, I'd say it was 50-50. Yeah, man, I'm going to send that quote to Oezdemir. Maybe it'll change his career.
Oh, no, don't do that. It's going to ruin my parlay.
Well, no, it's too late for that, man. I don't think, even if he did start training, I don't think his jaw would be strong enough by next Saturday.
You'd be surprised how many rounds he gets in.
Magomed, he's the correct side here. Very possible. I mean, I'm going with him. I'm adding him to one of my parlays. I think I'm fairly certain he's going to get the decision, but this is one of those where, it's good to sprinkle some of that TKO prop, because Oezdemir, man, it's not looking good for him. So, yeah, going with Magomed, decision, but sprinkling some of that TKO prop. It's looking good.
Our next bout at welterweight we've got the Leech, Li Jingliang versus Khamzat Chimaev, or as I put it, Chadzmat Chadmaev. Currently, the odds are probably going to be fucking ridiculous. Let's take a look. Oh, dear. Of course they are. Yeah, he's currently minus 450. Come back on Jingliang plus 340. Oh, man. So I think a lot of people are going to break it down this way, that Chimaev is going to take down Leech, eventually TKO him on the ground. We saw what Neil Magny did to him. Neil Magny did to him, where he just kind of stifled him. He couldn't get off on his strikes, Jingliang, that is, and he eventually lost the decision. Khamzat, he's more of obviously a ground and pound type. We've seen him get knockouts before, one punch over Gerald Meerschaert. I'm pausing because what the fuck? I just realized Meerschaert got knocked out with one punch by Khamzat, but some other fucking asshole, whatever. Anyways, Li Jingliang, he's a solid guy, right? At welterweight. My biggest concern is that if you're betting Chimaev, the issue with him is that he hasn't fought in how many months? Fucking a year. He hasn't fought in a year, and he's had multiple bouts with Leon Edwards canceled. And first one was Edwards testing positive for COVID. Second one was he testing positive for COVID. The third bout was canceled because of the lingering effects of COVID, and he essentially retired online once, and then now he's back. And my thing is, does he still have lingering effects? If you remember correctly, I guess he was like coughing up blood. So is this going to be the same guy? I'm betting that it's going to be the same guy, and he's going to have enough to take out Li Jingliang. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking maybe the Leech actually knocks out Chimaev, right? I don't think he's really been in a whole ton of danger in his fights. Like he beat who? Who did he beat in the UFC? He Darce choked John Phillips. He beat the shit out of Reese McKee, and then he knocked out Gerald Meerschaert. That's Gerald Meerschaert, who was coming off of a recent knockout. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like maybe I'll take a small little sprinkle on Leech to win. It's a possibility. I think you guys know what I'm talking about, right? We're expecting Chimaev to come in here and just fucking dominate, but then you're like, he doesn't look the same. What's going on with him? It's a possibility that Chimaev isn't the same guy after what happened to him after the COVID and shit. He's had one of the worst bouts of COVID we've seen, and I'm worried that I'm putting some money on him at those odds, having him on a parlay because it's a quote unquote for sure thing, and he fucks it up or something just doesn't go his way. He just doesn't seem like the same fighter. He was incredibly active for a certain period of time within his first UFC fights. Like first it was fucking a week later he fights, and then 2 months later he fights, and now it's been a whole year. And how is that going to affect him? I am worried about that. I will pick him still. I think he should win if that same guy shows up. He takes down Jingliang and just beats his brains in. But yeah, there's always a chance that Jingliang, he's the type of guy where fights where he's supposed to lose, he wins, and the fights he's supposed to win, he loses. Given Neil Magny, he was coming off of a layoff. He gets decisioned by Neil Magny. And then a fight with him and Santiago Ponzinibbio, you're thinking Ponzi's going to come back after a layoff and knock out Jingliang, and then he knocks him out. Shit like that happens all the time with him. He knocks out Zaleski, for fuck's sake, in China, and that wasn't expected to me. I actually bet Zaleski, and he fucked me in that fight. So it's a possibility. I will put a small amount on Jingliang. It's been kind of the running theme, hasn't it? Like I'm picking the other guy, but I'm putting small bits of money on the guy I think is going to lose to win by like a knockout or something. But I think Chimaev is going to win this one. I'm going to stay away from it. I'm going to watch it and analyze it just because I am worried something, right? So I'll go with Chimaev round number 2 knockout, but I would advise stay away from it unless you know something I don't.
Yeah, it's there's a big question mark in this fight, and that's Chimaev. Is he going to come back stronger, the same, weaker? And this is at welterweight, mind you, so he has some weight to cut. I know he wants to come off as this badass, like, oh, hey, I can fight at any weight class, but it's like, a few coughs and said, oh my God, I'm retired. So, we'll see how, I would say this is another fight where, it's going to be interesting to take a look at the face-off and the weigh-ins. Got to see what kind of condition Chimaev is in. he's the expected favorite, but then, Jingliang Li, he's been around the block. He's been with the UFC for quite a while now. Taking a look at his record. And yeah, he's been with the UFC since 2014. He's been around the block. He's fought, a lot of the UFC level competition. He's only lost 4 times. His most recent to Neil Magny, he got Neil Magni'd. And his knockout of Ponzinibbio, that guy had been out. He was just rust. Yes, it was rust on his part, but yeah, I mean, I'm not putting too much stock into that fight. However, Chimaev, yeah, I guess he trains fairly hard to, stay in that kind of shape. He's young. So I am sticking with Chimaev until, for the moment, there is some value in Lee. And a lot of people are going with Chimaev and, thinking he's going to KO him or TKO him, which is a possibility, or he could just grapple fuck him and submit him. So he has his, I guess he has that to fall back on in case Lee somehow, has good head movement and is giving him trouble on the feet. He always has the groundwork to fall back on. Chimaev, I don't think I don't know, man. He seems pretty weak-minded to me after, the shit, he's like, oh, I'm retired, because he was too stupid to take time off with COVID. He wanted to keep training. But anyway, at least that's what I gathered. He was supposed to take it easy, but instead he kept training hard, and he didn't fully recover from that. I guess the lingering effect from that was just his dumb, stupidity on his part. That was the lingering effect. We'll see exactly how much of that, is still lingering. I'll stick with him for now. I don't, I'm not very confident in this, even though, like part of me is confident, like, yeah, he'll win, but the other part's like, I don't know, he bitched out, and, against Edwards. If he was that tough, he would have just put on the mask, put on a face mask and fought Edwards.
That's funny.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting fight, to say the least. I'm glad they put this on the main card.
Oh, yeah. Next bout at heavyweight, we've got Alexander Drago Volkov versus Marcin Tybura. And currently the odds on this one have it in favor of Alexander Volkov, floating around the minus 300 range. Tybura comes back plus 240, and I think those odds are pretty spot on. The thing about Tybura is that although he's on a pretty solid win streak, it's crazy to see how many wins he's had since his last loss to Augusto Sakai, and that was back in 2019, September of 2019. He's on a roll. He's beaten Sergey Spivak, who he's a pretty serviceable fighter, Maxine Grishin, Ben Rothwell, Greg Hardy, and Walt Harris. The most impressive, obviously, would be Greg Hardy, the fact that he knocked him out, first person to knock out Greg Hardy. And that should tell you a lot about why I'm picking Alexander Volkov. I think the level of competition that Tybura has been beating hasn't been to the level of maybe a championship caliber fighter. And the fact that Alexander Volkov has been beating championship level competition should really give you an idea. His only losses as of late were to Derek Lewis, a fight he was completely dominating, but, black beast in this hoe. And then Curtis Blades, a fight where Curtis had to grapple fuck him with every ounce of his being, to the fact that he nearly died out of dehydration from trying to keep him down. And then he,
yeah,
you remember that? He's like,
yeah,
man. I'm like, Jesus, Curtis, chill. There's been a lot of talk. There's been a lot of talk about how he's actually been putting on some weight. His last fight with Cyril Gane, which I'll talk about this fight in a bit, he weighed in at 265. Now, if we go back to see what he weighed in against Derek Lewis, he was at 251. So it looks like he gained weight and had to cut weight to make 265. And as I brought up the fight with Cyril Gane, that was a very close fight. And he actually took some rounds from Cyril Gane, at least on my scorecard. I still think Gane won that fight pretty easily, but it was quite competitive. And the way I see this one going is that eventually Alexander Volkov's going to get that knockout. He's got a 3-inch reach advantage. He's obviously going to be the taller guy, 6'7" compared to the 6'3". The way Tybura wins this fight is by doing what he does best and keeping the opponent up against the cage. As of late, he's gotten a couple finishes. The level of competition he's been knocking out is not what you would call the highest level at the heavyweight division. They're just heavyweights that could potentially knock him out. And he's been rocked by both of these guys, Greg Hardy and Walt Harris. I see Volkov landing a punch that's going to rock Tybura, and Alexander's going to just put it on him and get the eventual TKO. Whether it's in the first or second round, I think it's going to end under the 2.5, but I do have Volkov to win this one by I'll say second round knockout.
Yeah, I agree. Volkov, he's only lost to a certain ethnicity, or if you want to put it that way, as of late in the UFC.
A certain hue, maybe.
Yeah,
a shade.
Yeah, he's melanin is looks like it's his kryptonite, and Tybura is one pill fuck. So I don't think he's in any danger there. I think Volkov is going to beat his ass. He is the better striker. I don't think he'll let Tybura push him around, push him to the cage, control him there. Not really much more to add. I'm taking Volkov here as well, by decision, but I'd say, there's a possibility to, it's very, this is where it's possible to sprinkle a little bit on the KO TKO prop, because he's he's got those kicks, he's got the very accurate punches, so he's that's where the TKO prop is pretty good value here, I think, with Volkov.
Our next bout at lightweight, hell of a fight between Islam Makhachev and Dan the Hangman Hooker. And oh man, I'm dreading to see the odds. Oh fuck, man, really? Minus 700. No, it's minus 700.
Geez.
Pretty close for Islam Makhachev, and plus 500 for Dan Hooker. Automatically, no bet on Islam Makhachev. I don't care how confident you are in him winning. I personally am not taking any shot, any risk that he gets clipped by a knee up the middle from Dan Hooker and ruins my parlays. That would suck. Imagine that you're waiting on him to win this one because he's like, oh yeah, he's the next coming of Khabib and he's gonna do this and he's gonna do that, and oh my god, he's dominating. Then like third round comes and Dan Hooker stuffs a takedown and whack. Yeah, I don't know about this one, man. Like logically, of course, it's one of these fights that it's not very difficult to break down. Dan Hooker, more of a striker, very devastating striker, right? He can knock you out in multiple different ways. Knees up the middle, as I mentioned, elbows, punches to the body, excellent combinations. Had one of the best fights of all time with Dustin Poirier, 5-round banger. The thing is, he does gas out if he does kind of expend all of his gas tank with his strikes. Come round number 3 is a bit concerning. Islam, according to the line, should be able to dominate this fight from beginning to end. Now, I'm not going to go with Islam. I'm just going to go with Dan Hooker just for the fuck of it, mainly because out of the sheer respect. I mean, I don't care. I really don't care. It's just my official pick is going to be Dan Hooker. Do I think he's going to win? It's a possibility. I think there's a shot. And if there's a shot at those odds, I'm going to take it. Dan Hooker, he can find a way to win this one. Makhachev's been knocked out before. I think the momentum that he's riding right now is putting him prime in a spot where the unexpected could happen, because he has been fighting a lot of guys that aren't really up to the caliber that a guy like Khabib has fought. Like he fought Thiago Moises. I think a lot of people can beat Thiago Moises, especially at that level. I think for sure Makhachev is at that level, maybe the top 10, top 5 even, but he hasn't really fought anybody in that tier yet. The guy he was supposed to fight was Rafael dos Anjos. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, you're not really fighting the best of the best. His best win out of his last few fights, because I'll start listing off his wins. Thiago Moises, good win, not a great win. Drew Dober, a good win, not a great win. Davi Ramos, again, good win, not a great win. Arman Tsarukyan is the best out of this lot because Arman really gave him the best fight. He made it difficult for Islam. And then before that, Cajun Johnson finished him in the first round. Gleason Tebow finished him in the first round. Nick Lentz, Chris Wade, and then going to the sole loss in his record, Adriano Martins knocked him out with a punch. That's a tall guy with power, just like our boy here, big balls, Dan Hooker. So you know what? I'm taking a shot, not necessarily on the fact that I think that Islam Makhachev isn't as skilled as a lot of people think. I think he's very skilled. I just don't think he's fought the level of competition that warrants him to be that high. I know he's looked spectacular, but he's done that to guys he should have done that to. And Dan Hooker, I don't know if he's going to be able to do that to him. I think Dan Hooker's going to make it really, really tough on Islam Makhachev. And if Dan Hooker finds a way to sneak in a knee in there, I think it's going to really hurt Islam. And I don't see him surviving. So I'm going to take the shot. I'm going to take the bold prediction that Dan Hooker knocks out Islam Makhachev in round number 1. It's a stupid fucking pick, but I believe it. I believe it's going to happen. It will happen. Dan Hooker, round number 1 knockout via devastating knee.
Yeah, I'm seeing this. I'm going to run this comparison. And Islam is to Khabib as to Rory was to GSP. Everybody, back then said Rory's the next GSP. That was far from the truth. I think this is far from the truth as well. Islam is not the next Khabib. He's nowhere near him. His record is, I think, a little bit padded, and by far, I think Hooker is going to be the best fighter, striker, all around mixed martial artist that he's gonna, that he's to date that he's fought. This is a tough match. He's a big favorite, but that's, I think, honestly setting it up for the public to get fucked on this fight. And by that, I mean, the house always wins, meaning the casinos always win. And, there's a small, a lot of bets are going to come in on Makhachev, and, not so many bets on Hooker. But I think that's a mistake. You shouldn't count out Hooker just because you think Makhachev is going to come in there and dominate. I don't think Makhachev is going to come in there like, I was going to say Eddie Alvarez. What's the other guy that knocked out Hooker?
Michael Chandler.
Chandler Bing. I don't think he's going to come out aggressive like Chandler did. So I think that's going to be a mistake, unless he does come out aggressive, and he does, just has Hooker backing up. But even that's going to be a little bit tough for him because Hooker's dangerous everywhere, I think.
You know what? I'm going to change my prediction. I'm going to change my prediction real quick. Hooker round number 1, one single low calf kick is going to fuck up Islam's leg, and he's not going to be able to continue.
That's very possible. For everybody counting out Hooker, you shouldn't count out Hooker because Hooker is one tough son of a kangaroo or whatever the hell they have. This is honestly possibly the toughest fight to call on here for me, just because there's big question marks as to how good Dan Hooker's takedown defense is going to be here since he fought recently, and how effective Islam is going to be in case he can't take him down immediately. Is he going to give up, or is he going to really be like Khabib and just be like, okay, the first 10 takedown tries didn't go through, but I'm going to keep going until I get that 11th, and then it's going to snowball from there. You know what I mean? Because that was the difference between Khabib and a lot of these other guys. If they failed, the first however many dozen times, Khabib didn't give a shit. He would still find a way to take him down on that 13th try, and then from there, once he took him down, then that was it. Khabib was aware of that. Anyway, I don't know if Makhachev has that same sort of mentality. If he does, then it's going to be a long night for Hooker. I'll reluctantly go with Makhachev, But I am not counting out Hooker. I mean, the odds state otherwise, but no fucking way, man. That line is juice more than that piece of shit Costa. This fight should be like Makhachev minus 200 at the most, maybe, because he should be favored. But yeah, man, this being the line being as juiced as it is, that alone puts value on Hooker. You know what I mean?
Well, there's a possibility because of outside, I guess, forces. I didn't bring this up because I don't think it really matters, but right now with Dan Hooker, what he's dealing with is that he's basically kind of exiled. He's not going back home to New Zealand just because of their COVID restrictions. He actually stayed in the States, and he doesn't necessarily have like a team currently. And there was an interview because he took the fight literally the next day after he fought, what's his name, Nasrat. He's like, yeah, I'll fucking fight Islam. And he had no idea, like, where the fuck am I going to stay? Where am I going to live? Because he had nowhere to stay. So there's a possibility that, I guess, conundrum outside of the cage is causing the line to be like, well, this fucker is not going to have the most adequate training, but I don't think that matters. It's Dan Hooker's fought plenty of times. He's 21-10. He's going to have a place to go, whether it's going to be with his team coming in to assist him. I guess Izzy's also moving to the United States, but I don't think that's going to be an issue. Like, Hooker's not going to have a problem training. He'll be on weight. This fucker can make weight while flying like 14 hours from New Zealand to Vegas. He's not going to have any issues training when he doesn't have to do any of that shit. But yeah, I think that's primarily what's causing that line to be most ridiculous. And of course, it being, the relation with Khabib, and we know what he can do. So it's just interesting to me.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where, I mean, the bookmakers, they know that there's a lot of money going to come in on Makhachev, and they're not going to make it cheap, to get for him to get a win. So you're going to have to lay a lot of juice down. No, rather they juiced it up, so that you're going to have to lay a lot of money down to win here, because they weren't going to get fucked. This is basically them protecting themselves from getting overly fucked. They're still going to get fucked somewhat, but they're like, okay, if people are going to bet on Makhachev and he's most likely going to win, well, we're going to have people pay a premium for that. So they're going to make money regardless on this. But man, if Hooker wins, and damn, those plus odds, whoever places it on that, it's going to be real happy. So good for them. But I'm going to stay away from this fight. I don't think I'll include it. I'll maybe include it like on a long shot whole card parlay, but that's only going to be like $1, maybe $5 at the most, but nothing crazy. I'm not going to bet anything over that.
Our next bout, co-main event for the UFC interim bantamweight title, which should be Petr Yan's second title defense. Petr Yan versus Corey Sandhagen. And currently the odds on this one have it in favor of Petr Yan minus 275, come back on Corey Sandhagen plus 220. What's interesting about this bout is that, to my knowledge, it's the only fight for a title where both competitors are coming off of a loss, or quote unquote loss. A lot of people say that Corey Sandhagen was robbed of the decision against Dillashaw. And of course, we know what Petr Yan did. He hit Aljamain Sterling with an illegal knee, and he got his title taken away from him, which it's kind of funky to me that that's the rule, especially, after the fight, how it was kind of leaning towards Petr Yan for him to get disqualified. It was just kind of weird. I know those are the rules, but that's kind of a weird thing. But I will say, though, for the image that I've selected on screen currently, it's probably one of my favorite images that I've ever put on here, because usually I'll put, the guy getting hurt or knocked down or punched and they make a funny face, or they're on the floor. This one, I think it's a little bit more classy when it comes to my diss to him, because it's a picture of it's Petr Yan in the background, but in the foreground it's Aljamain Sterling wearing his belt. So I think it's pretty fucking funny. But this fight is going to be a hell of a fight at bantamweight. Petr Yan, he's going to be incredibly hungry to prove that he is not number 2 in the world as he's listed in Tapology, but he's number 1 in the world. This was supposed to be a fight rematch for the title against Aljamain Sterling, but no comment. Corey Sandhagen, we've seen what he can do, but I think he should obviously be the rightful underdog in this fight. He does have the better attributes. He's 5'11", 70-inch reach. Come back on Petr Yan. He's 5'7", 67-inch reach. So Petr Yan has to get on the inside and land his strikes. He's no mercy for a reason. This guy, once he gets you dead to rights, he's going to punish you. And this is honestly the fight to make without Aljamain Sterling. If this was the next fight for Petr Yan, say he had won, he defended his title against Aljamain Sterling, and Corey Sandhagen beat TJ Dillashaw, this would be a much bigger fight, but not by much. It's still an amazing fight, and it's really, to me, not that difficult to predict. Corey Sandhagen, although he's fantastic on the feet, his striking is great. He's very fluid. His movement is very Dillashaw-esque. We saw what the real Dillashaw did to him. He stifled him. He held on to him. And the thing about Corey Sandhagen that I've noticed is that if things aren't going well for him, he's very compliant in what you're going to do to him. As we saw with Aljamain Sterling, he got taken down. He choked him out pretty immediately. TJ Dillashaw, although he did get outstruck in that fight, he did win a lot of the moments, whether it was on the ground, going for takedowns, just pushing the action. But I think Petr Yan is the more skilled guy. I think he's the one who's going to go for the takedowns. And frankly, I think he's going to submit Corey Sandhagen if he wants to. I think he's going to want to try to knock him out on the ground, which is very, very possible. But I think Petr Yan, he's demonstrated the type of caliber fighter that he is. He should be champion. He should be fighting for the belt again, the actual belt, not the interim belt, but let's consider this one to be the real one. The only issue that I have with Petr Yan is that he tends to throw rounds away sometimes. The first few rounds against him and Aldo were pretty close. The first two, to be exact. And also the first few rounds with Aljamain Sterling. Aljamain, although not putting him in much danger, was outstriking him. But it's kind of what Petr Yan tends to do. He waits, and then eventually when he decides to start going, he fucks you up. Whether is he going to do that with Corey Sandhagen? It does kind of give me a bit of concern when betting Petr Yan, because there's a chance Corey lands a flying knee and knocks out Petr Yan. I don't think it's going to happen, though. I think Jan's eventually going to get the ball rolling. I mean, if he throws away the first two rounds, I think he wins the last three to get potentially a decision. But I see Petr Yan for sure going for a finish. And the easiest way is to get Corey Sandhagen to the ground and submit him. I think Corey is going to have a lot of trouble on the ground with Petr Yan. I'll say round number 3 submission for Petr Yan. If he decides that he wants to get this fight over with immediately, I think Petr Yan gets it done in the second. But for me, realistically, it's going to be in the later rounds. So I'll go round number 3, Petr Yan submission.
I'm actually going with Peter as well. I think this is going to be a closer fight than a lot of people think. I don't think Corey's going to make it that easy for him. But as you mentioned, Corey tends to, I forgot what the exact terminology is, but he, how did you put it? He tends to, he doesn't take charge of the fight. He allows the other fighter to dictate the pace and whatnot.
Oh, he's compliant.
And so, yeah. And so I think he's going to fall into that with Yan as well. He is the taller, lankier fighter, and he does have that shot where he's going to land that flying knee or that crazy shot. But I think Jan's too skilled to fall for that. Hopefully, he's not too cocky, because if he's too cocky, then that might land. So it'll be up to Yan. So I think this is Jan's fight to lose. I think he's better everywhere. Not great, but he's, to me, for all intents and purposes, he's still the champ. The Funk Master, he's just being a little bitch right now. He's not wanting to fight and just wanting to hold on to the belt for Instagram notoriety. So I think that's complete bullshit.
Well, he's hoping that Corey Sandhagen beats Petr Yan so he doesn't have to get that ass whooping again.
Yeah. But I don't think that'll happen. I think Yan wins 9 out of 10 times. And I think this is going to be one of those times. So I'm sticking with Yan here. I don't know, man. I always played safe with the decision. But I'll say sprinkle the rear naked choke in the fourth round for Yan. A little bit of sprinkle there. But I'm going with Yan for sure here by decision.
Main event for the UFC light heavyweight championship: Jan Blachowicz versus Glover. I don't know why they have him listed as the Brazilian pitbull Texeira on on Tapology. I've never heard that before. Interesting. Hopefully that's not his official new nickname, but currently the odds have it in favor of Blachowicz. Minus 280. Comeback on Glover is plus 225. It's a hell of a fight. It's a hell of a light heavyweight title fight. It's not getting a whole ton of notoriety, but it is probably one of the best fights between the two clear-cut number 1 and number 2 fighters in the UFC. It's going to be a hell of a fight. I'm very excited to see it. Actually, I'll be in Florida kind of having a vacation, so I'll have to find a spot to watch it out there. But damn, I am looking forward to this one. Primarily Jan Blachowicz, the guy that should not be UFC champion, but he crawled and climbed his way up the rankings. And I would have loved to have seen a fight between him and John Jones, but he's beat everybody. He beat Luke Rockhold. Oh my God, I just remembered the knockout. He beat Souza, Jacare Souza, which, not the best win anymore, especially the way it happened. But then he knocked out Corey Anderson, which, Corey's been talking a lot of shit right now since he's in Bellator and he's going to fight for the title in Bellator. He's going to get his ass whooped, but it's really funny that he's like, oh, I'm number 1, the best in the world. I'm like, shut the fuck up, Corey Anderson. And then, of course, he decisioned Israel Adesanya, which was like, to me, it seemed like a very obvious that would happen, but not to the public and not to the announcers. Glover Teixeira, he's had it rough with his path to the title again. He's had it really, really rough. He's had multiple situations and fights where he's dead to rights, knocked out, but he comes back, just like his career. He comes back after getting knocked out and somehow gets a submission. His last loss was coincidentally to Corey Anderson by decision, and that was back in 2018. Since then, he's been on a hell of a tear, and the way he's been winning these fights has been very impressive because Carl Roberson hurts him. He comes back, it's the submission arm triangle. Ian Cutelaba knocks him out, basically, comes back, it's the rear naked choke. He decisions Nikita Krylov by split, that is. Anthony fucking Smith, that fight was insane because he is getting pummeled by Anthony Smith, and then come the later rounds, he destroys Anthony on the ground so badly that his teeth come out, and there was a huge discussion about the corners having to stop a brutal beating. And the same exact thing, the same exact way, Thiago Santos. Thiago's beating his ass, and I'm rewatching that finish, right? Thiago's on top of him, pounding him out, and then Glover's like, nah, I'm fucking done with this. He gets up, takes him down, dumps him on his fours, takes the back and chokes him out. And it's like, Jesus Christ, like, has there ever been a guy on a redemption path like Glover Teixeira at 42 years old? It's just been incredible to see, and you're rooting for the guy. Unfortunately, John's going to knock him out. John is too skilled. I think John is the best version of himself right now. And although Glover is very skilled and he has gotten better over the years, I don't think he's the best version of himself. He's 42 years old. He's been hurt almost in every single fight he's been in since his last loss to Corey Anderson. If John hurts Glover, there's no way I see Glover getting back up or shooting for the single or getting the takedown and then submitting John. John is a very accomplished black belt. He's going to have every possibility to get out of any situation where Glover's going to take him down. And frankly, if Glover does get hurt, I don't think John's going to make any mistake where he gets taken down. He's going to finish the fight, whether it be by TKO or by a clean knockout. I see Jan Blachowicz knocking out Glover Teixeira. I'm going to say round number 2. I predict a head kick, actually. I think he's going to lull him with the hands, and then out of nowhere, he's going to throw a left high kick and knock Glover out cold. That's what I would hope, but that'll be my prediction, round number 2 knockout for John. It sucks to see that Glover has to lose. but it's not meant to be. If he can pull this out, I mean, you can never count out Glover, but if he can pull this out, what a hell of a comeback for his career. And if it was me, I would say just retire with the belt. I don't want to see him get any more punishment down the line, because he will. Because fucking Israel will come back and try to get that title from him, which he might actually get from Glover. But yeah, I got John to win this one, second round knockout.
Yeah, I'll keep this one short. There's not much more to add. This is probably the one fight I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm not going to go with decision. I don't think this goes the distance. I think John knocks him out. And unfortunately for Glover, John is as good, if not a better grappler than he is. So he's not going to grapple fuck him like he did Maheta. Even if he does, wobble him or, hit him really hard, and then Glover tries to grapple fuck him, he will not get him to the ground. He will not take his back. He will not. He'll just get pounded out on the ground by Jan. He's going to get that Polish power, unfortunately. And I mean, at this point, he's better than Glover anywhere. Had they fought 5 years ago, maybe he'd be in a little bit better shape. But being that Jan is on the top of his game, I don't see him winning here. I mean, my heart says, I want Glover to win, but all logic points to Jan here. And this will be, the final leg of my parlay. I don't know how successful I'm going to be here. Hopefully, my picks don't fizzle out. But yeah, let's hope for the best here.
Yeah, you can't really bet against that suicide rope that John has, so it's inevitable for Glover.
Yeah.
And now we've come to the section where we give you our thoughts on parlays. And with this particular card, it's quite difficult, just because there's a lot of fighters here that, although I think are going to win, I'm looking forward to maybe sprinkling like that little bit on the underdog. But one, just for fun, I'll do a pure parlay on all the odds, starting with Alexander Volkov, which I actually think he will win this fight. Tagir Ulanbekov. I'm staying away from Tukhugov because there's too many problems there. I'll go with Shamil Gamzatov. I'll go with Damir Ismagulov. I'll go shit. See, here's a fun one. Kopylov ends in Ov, Roman Kopylov, plus 195. I think he can get it done, but I'm not touching this one when it comes to that. Who else do we have here? I think that might be it for all the Ovs. Well, we've got Ankalaev. I'll make an exception. I'll put Ankalaev on there as well. I'm staying away from Islam Makhachev. So that gives me a 5-person parlay. Actually, not too bad. Although Shamil might be an issue. I might get him out. But it currently gives me plus 435 on these odds. I'll probably do that one just for fun. Maybe take Shamil out. But in a realistic parlay that I will take, I will do Ulanbekov. I'll do Volkov. I'm going to do Jan Blachowicz. I will do Petr Yan. I will also add on this Magomed Ankalaev will be on that one. Staying away from Chimaev because that's a problem. Should win, but that's a problem. Ismagulov. And yeah, that gives me plus 555. So I like those odds. I might play that. Might add a couple other possible parlays in there just for fun, but not as much money. But those will be my possible parlays, my crazy ones.
Yeah, I've switched my thinking around to I'd like my parlay to win. So I'm going to keep it. So I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going with the favorites on the main card. I'm going to take Blachowicz, Yan, Makhachev, Volkov, Chimaev, and Ankalaev. Those are mostly Evs or Wicks. But anyway, yeah, so I'm going with that. I may not include all of them, but that's going to be my base parlay. I'm a degenerate, so I'll probably, do other parlays with the rest of the fighters. But I'm not super confident in a lot of them. I'm mostly confident on that main card, on the main card picks. I'll be sticking with that for the most part because I'm sort of done living on the edge and being like, oh yeah, I'm gonna this 3,000 to 1 parlay has a chance of winning. No, I'd like for him to win. So I'll probably do combinations of like two or three person parlays with those. Like I said, maybe sprinkle a little bit on others.
If you do all 6 of those, it gives you about a plus 397. If you do all the favorites on the main card.
Yeah, I would say I'll stick with that, and then I'll do smaller 2 or 3 person parlay combinations on them because I don't know, man. I'm not confident in Makhachev or the Chimaev.
No,
I'll probably do a parlay without them.
I do like the parlay though of John, Tadjir, Ulanbekov, and Volkov, and you can always sprinkle like Volkov by knockout. I like that. I think for sure he's going to win. I think those 3 guys are like my solid picks. The other ones, there's a possibility that they might lose, but those 3, I think I'm the most confident. Oh, sorry, Ismagulov. I think he wins that one as well. So that gives me plus 252. Those 4 I actually like quite a bit. So that'll be my base.
I'll probably, like I said, I'll probably do combinations of those fighters with others, but that's going to be my main thing. That's where I think most of my where I'm going to allot most of my bankroll there.
But those have been our picks for UFC 267, Blachowicz versus Texeira. Once again, appreciate it if you leave a like, leave a comment. I really do appreciate the comments. Those are like my favorite thing. Say whatever the fuck you want. Tell us that we suck. Tell us how much you like our stuff. Tell me how much you love my sexy voice. That's been Johnny and Jose, Tiger Bomb MMA, and we'll catch you at the next fight.